meet us where we are. We aren't necessarily doing anything special except creating unity with individuals experiencing difficult circumstances. When we read verse 13, what do we think? Are we thinking in literal terms? These individuals are children of God. They give us the ability to see and understand Christ in a totally different way. However, that requires us to move to the lowest place so that we can move higher. This is the place where invitation and choice meets. In verse 11 it says, "For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." But verse 13 says, "But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the cripple, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous." For some, this is a choice. For others, this is an invitation. Hopefully, you can view this as an invitation to create sacred spaces so that we can grow closer to the divine. In January, I had a chance to participate in a emergency shelter in downtown Wilmington. If you remember, it was around the 7th, 8th, and 9th. It got really cold. And we were realizing that a lot of the shelters, they had the white flag, but only certain individuals could get in. So if you weren't able to get in when it was warm, you weren't going to be able to get in when it was cold. So we were trying to figure out a response to help these individuals, because we knew that it was going to get deadly cold outside. And so we opened a shelter with about 1 day's worth of supplies. We had maybe 10 or 15 blankets. We had a pot of stew. We had enough water for 1 day. And as the weather became clearer, we realized that the city wasn't opening a shelter. We knew that we were going to open one for 3 days. It was going to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We started to reach out to the community for help, and the weekend became full of spiritual experiences. We were getting outreach from schools, Girl Scout troops, individuals that we didn't even know. I had a front row seat to God's abundance and radical hospitality. The night I stayed, I tried to sleep on the concrete floor, because this place was an old convenience store that we had turned into a bike shop. And the floors were concrete. We had some kerosene heaters, but when it's that cold outside, the floor is not going to heat up. It was cold as can be. I had no pillow, I had no blankets, and I realized I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to make sure that everyone was comfortable. That was one of my biggest concerns that night, was to make sure that these individuals were as comfortable as can be. I had no clue who they were. We had a lot of people I'd never seen before. I stayed up to keep the doors unlocked so that if people came in the middle of the night, I would let them in. And just to be clear, this isn't anything about me. This is just something at this point in my life comes natural. It's not anything I really think about. And so around 3 a.m., I went and sat next to a lady who was trying to get warm around the heater. She was shaking, she was sweating, she was crying. And what it was she was detoxing from alcohol. And she had also been assaulted by her boyfriend a few days later pretty bad. She was swollen pretty good. I had no answers for her. I didn't say God has a reason for this. I didn't say I understand what you're going through. I didn't say everything was going to be okay. All I said is that you are not alone, and the best that I can do is listen. She looked at me and she asked, "Randy, why are you doing this?" And that question rocked me to the core. Why am I doing this? I looked at her and I stated, because it's the right thing to do. Sometimes I'll hear, "That's a really nice thing that you did." And I'll look at them and I'll say, "No, it's the right thing to do. It's not a nice thing to do. It's the right thing to do." I told her I'm only able to be who I am because of the example of Christ. I'm only able to love you, a stranger, because I was loved first, because I was the stranger. We're all the strangers. So I told her I'm only able to do this because of the example of Christ. Once I got her settled, I took a handful of hot hands and went outside and made sure that everyone was okay. So the point of this story is not about me. It's about the abundance of grace, love, knowledge, and compassion you will receive when you take the lowest place. It's not just taking the lowest place, but it's taking it with radical humility and hospitality. And so as I close this morning, if there's one thing that you can take from this, is that when you take the lowest place, do it with humility and do it with radical hospitality, because what's going to happen is it's going to become so ingrained in you that you're not going to think about it. It's going to become a lifestyle. It's not going to be anything that's even conscious anymore about your movements. And so as society says to you, this is a choice that you can make, I hope that you can turn it over and realize that it's an invitation for God's grace and God's love and God's compassion to offer you in, because there's so much that we can gain from individuals in poverty, individuals who have had a rougher life, individuals who just aren't quite the way we are. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to move up higher. Lord, continue to give us opportunities to interact with people that just quite aren't like us, Lord. Lead us, guide us, and direct us in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Did you have something else? Okay. Sing with us one more time, everybody. He's got the whole world in his hands. This one?